So these are the credits for 2017's Logan. And this is what they would look like if you zoomed out completely. If you've ever wondered why it takes this many people for a movie to go from script to screen,
guys, those are chrome-plated lugs. You're gonna strip them.
You're probably not the only one. So I'm going to use the next to try and explain why as best as I can from the perspective of us making our own low-budget feature film. As sound recorder Sam Evans treks through an isolated forest, his mic picks up a sound no one wants to hear while alone in the woods. That's the logline for Within the Pines, a 72-minute low-budget thriller we shot in May of 2022. The whole process was long and hard. That's what she said, but the hardest aspect by far was shooting this fight sequence, which we had to do in one day. Now, the day in question started at around 6 AM and ended with a technical oversight, let's call it, that completely wrecked all the footage. But I'll get to that in a bit because technically the fight started in a caravan park many months before. Now, going by the film's poster, it's pretty obvious who the star of the show is, a caravan. And for as long as I'd had this idea for this film, it was always the imagery of a lonely caravan in the middle of a pine forest that always stuck with me. But adding it in post like we did with the proof of concept wasn't going to cut it for the feature length. So the first thing to do was to find a real caravan.
It's a caravan. It's about 5 meters long.
We actually got pretty lucky and ended up finding a perfectly dingy one at a caravan park for an absolute bargain price, which was only possible because the owner was a family friend of one of our lead actors and executive producers, Brendan Cooney. It was the production's first big W, considering we were in the middle of COVID and people were buying up retro caravans to renovate because no one could travel abroad at that point. The wheels were busted, but that was fine. You know, we just had to get it towed on a tow truck some 180 Ks to the forest location we'd be shooting at, Mount Crawford, South Australia. Now, at this point, we were like 6 months out from shooting. So this was around November of 2021, I think. And by this point in the production, well, pre-production, we'd written the script, rewritten the script.
It's terrible.
Cast our actors, worked out a budget, scouted locations, re-scouted locations after the location was bulldozed, but that's okay. It was a plantation, so that's expected, and did some costume shopping.
Some things we've tried on, get some fruits.
We also had to register the film production as a company, something I wasn't really aware of until we started prep on this film. Basically, it's for limiting your liability if something horrible goes wrong. And it also makes it easier to share profits amongst the investors down the road. It's also a step you need to probably take if you want to sell the film for distribution. But yeah, that company name you see at the bottom of a film's credits, that company is the movie production, and producers help you sort that. So as the months ticked by, we talked cinematography and what kind of feel and tone we wanted for the film with our camera department. Yep, that's everyone. And this is easily one of the most exciting parts of the process, but it's also one of the hardest too, because as the writer and or director of your movie, you kind of already have it in your head, but communicating that to someone else is another thing entirely. That's why I think a website like Frameset is brilliant and something I really wish I knew about some 3 years ago when we were at this stage of pre-production for our film. Because as you're dreaming up ideas for certain shots and scenes, your descriptions can only get you so far. You need some visual cues. And as a filmmaker, of course, there's going to be other movies that come to mind that inspire you and your visual language for your movie. So being able to search up a mood or a color scheme or a particular movie and have all of these frames presented to you like this is very helpful. Even if you're just at the writing stage, getting inspiration for particular locations for your scenes that you're writing is massive. So if you're after some inspiration for your next film or project, I'd highly recommend checking out Frameset. I've got a link in the description that'll give you some discount if you're curious. Now, most films with a decently big budget would actually have a camera department, which would include, you know, your first AC or focus puller, your second AC, or the person responsible for slating every shot. Then you have a gaffer team that handle lighting and a grip team that handle the gear. I mean, we didn't have any of those teams, nor did we have a stunt coordinator or fight choreographer, but let's focus on what we did manage to sort. So, we wrangled crew for sound and paid for location hire. We organised catering, sorted gear, recruited our special effects makeup artist, sourced a few extra hands, asked friends and family for some favours, and they said yes for some reason, scheduled shoot days that worked around everyone's availability, and just generally tried to keep the crying to a minimum. So May 2022 arrives, and it's finally time for production to officially begin, some 18 months after we'd shot the proof of concept called Foley Man at the end of 2020, a title we had to change to Within the Pines because whenever you searched Foley Man, a whole bunch of catheter videos would show up because Foley catheters are a thing. Now, the first few days of principal photography were just general walking scenes to kind of ease us in to the production. And action. And shooting in a forest is really hard, you know, sticks everywhere. And it's especially hard when you only have a small team, lugging a whole bunch of gear around. So after 2 days of shooting, we wrapped day 2 and went to an Airbnb that we'd hired that was near the shooting location for the next day's shoot, which was the fight scene.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, tired and good, and chapped.
So overnight we did some prep, we did some makeup tests and prosthetics, and we just did all these tests and tried to prepare ourselves as best as we could for this terrifying shoot that was going to happen tomorrow. So at the crack of dawn, we leave our Airbnb and head to the shooting location to start prepping the scene. We meet with the armourers on set and go through the safety precautions and readjust shots as needed. The pressure was really intense, you know, I'll say that, because we basically had to get all of our scenes in the movie involving guns sorted that day because the budget just couldn't really afford to have armourers on set for multiple days.
And action!
So I just want to preface, before I go any further, the rest of the video is going to completely ruin the film for you. So if you want to watch Within the Pines and get the most out of it, you know, pause here and come back after you've finished it. I'm more than happy to wait. So one thing that makes fight sequences hard is continuity. A fight sequence is really just a bunch of small pieces that have complications attached to them. When you shoot, say, a conventional conversation, you can usually run through most of the scene without needing to cut and kind of reset most of the time. But in terms of fights, people get punched, you know, so it's a lot of action, punch, punch. Okay, cut, bring in the moldy mattress for them to fall out of shot onto. Okay, action. Cut, wait, do it again. And again. Okay, Ed's nose is broken now. Let's break and do makeup and prosthetics. And in general, it's also just really exhausting for the actors. You know, Brendan and Barry, our two leads, didn't have doubles. So the fight was all them. The punching, the crawling, the tumbling, over and over, take after take. But at the end of the day, we got all 3 scenes done and we were pretty stoked, you know, until we looked at the footage that night and realized almost all of it wasn't usable. In fact, most of the 3 days of principal photography was kaput. It really was a series of unfortunate events that led to this heartbreaking mistake. COVID-related supply shortages had us scrambling to substitute out-of-stock gear that we had on order for like half a year, which meant we were now shooting externally on an Atomos Ninja 5 versus internally into the camera. Now, you don't really need to know what that means. All you need to know is that we suddenly had to change how we were going to get the actual footage off of the camera. And that meant we had to buy a dongle. And of course, the dongle was delayed and only arrived once we were already 3 days into shooting, or the day of the fight scene. And it was only once we were viewing the footage on the computer that we realized what had happened. All of those lines and graphics on the image that you can see here, those were burnt in. Couldn't remove them.
21 Lima, take 8, soft.
And it happened because there was a setting within our camera's menus that we weren't aware of, that was on when it should have been off, basically. And yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow. I still remember, looking at the footage and having no clue what to say or what to do. But one thing I did know for sure was that we couldn't let this undercut all the hard work we'd done up to that point. These things happen, and there's no point letting that completely dismantle everything we'd done up to that point. So all we could do was reschedule, and on day 10, do it all again.
Action.
And the obvious silver lining to all of this was the full rehearsal we now had in the can for reference. And we used that to find where we could adjust the fight to make it better. And sitting here some 3 years removed from that shoot, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that the fight is easily my favorite scene in the whole film, and something I'm really proud of.
No use for you.
And it wouldn't have turned out as good as it did if we didn't get another go at it with that wisdom on our side. Just don't tell the budget I said that.
Yep.
9 uniform, take 2 much.
And the rest of the shoot was, equally as tough. It didn't really get any easier. We shot under hot sun, in the rain, at night, all the way up to dawn. And yes, let me tell you, it is the darkest and the coldest before the dawn. We worked with Mia and her lovely Wranglers. We used the drone as a helicopter. We crashed a drone, found the drone in a river, and then ended up using that salvage footage in the final film. We ate good. I was amazed at the incredible effort from our friends, and we laughed. And in the end, we had a movie. Well, kind of. Over the rest of the year, we shot pickups and additional scenes like the opening of the film and some flashbacks.
Hello, here we are we're on set again for Within the Pines. As you can see, there are no pines to be seen, to be within. Let's watch.
Cutting the film took like several months as we kind of juggled the film with our day jobs. And throughout that process, you find sections that don't quite work.
Action.
Or just need a little extra something.
Action.
So that's where reshoots come in.
We're back. 30th of July, we're filming some more. doing some car scenes. It's Tuesday afternoon. We've been doing a bit of filming. It's Carl, Sam and Paul putting away the equipment. It's about 5:15. It's Dion and Dylan. It's Tuesday the 24th and we're still filming. This is 15, 16 maybe? I'm not sure. Got lost track of time. 7th of April, Good Friday, and we're out in the forest again. It's October the 3rd, Monday, public holiday. It's Saturday the 15th of April 2023, and yeah, we're still filming. We're going to do my head hitting the ground because we weren't happy with the head hitting the branch shots. It's day 397 of filming. It's day 843 inside the caravan, as you can see in there. Say hi, Paul. Hi. What day is this? 875, I think. He's lying. He's lying. And fingers crossed, this is the last day. Day 47,365.
That means it's a wrap on Brendan. Big round of applause. Wow.
Because you'll get back to. Don't stop recording because you'll get back to the office, we'll call it, and they'll find something else they want to add in.
So with all the reshoots and additional scenes, plus our day jobs kind of getting in the way, it wasn't until early the following year, so 2023, that we had a locked edit. So that meant it was time to hand the film over to the sound department to do their thing. So that's Foley, so footsteps, character movement. And what's one thing you probably never think of when you watch a person walking through a forest in a movie? That there's multiple crew walking alongside the actor, which means multiple footsteps that are being picked up by the sound recordist. And that means replacing almost all of the footsteps with Foley recorded footsteps. Then it's recording ADR.
Today we're doing ADR. Say hi, Paul. Paul has aged 27 years since we started this film. And Adam's there too. Say hi, Adam.
And of course, you know, we got to score this bad boy. In the meantime, we're working on visual effects to make scenes feel more dangerous or more dense, or replacing props that we spent many weeks on in pre-production with visual effects because it just didn't look right. And then it's on to color and more general finessing. And at the end of it all, we had a movie, a 72-minute feature film. 18 months after we'd started shooting, and 3 years since we'd wrapped on the proof of concept. So that's why credits are so long. And keep in mind, our budget was like 55,000 Australian, which is about 36, 37, 38 USD. And we mostly shot at one location with 2 leads. Most films, even low budget movies, have actual departments with multiple crew members. There's the obvious camera department and art department, but there's also the AD department handling schedules and safety protocols and communication. There's the electric department that handles, you guessed it, everything electrical. There's the grip department handling gear, hair and makeup, wardrobe, the sound department, stunts, visual effects departments. And with more crew comes more food, more complicated schedules, more locations, more lawyers, more producers. And knowing all that, it makes total sense that a movie like Logan took over 3 months to shoot. 100 days to get 135 minutes of movie. And that doesn't even include post-production, which would get you probably closer to 200 days. That's 40 seconds of movie per day. And this is why you see directors or actors talking like this about their fellow crew and cast on wrap day.
There's a lot of things said about what I think about these films and all of those whatever, but I've loved every single second of these movies, and especially this one, because I've got up every morning and I've had the chance to work with you guys, and that has been one of the greatest honors of my life. So
that's what happens when you work with people with the same passion as you for weeks or even months on end. I mean, I certainly shared moments with our cast and crew throughout this process that I'll always cherish. You know, we were in the trenches together and we sacrificed so much to make something we were proud of. The movie isn't perfect, and it might even be something you just don't like, and that's totally valid. You know, there's probably mean things you could say. There's probably no mean things that you could say about this movie that I haven't already thought about in my head first. But regardless of what other people think or what I think on certain days, it's an achievement I'll always be very proud of. So the next time you see a movie, stay for the credits, especially for a movie you really like, because making a movie in general is really hard. And good movies, for that reason, are miracles made possible by a whole bunch of passionate people working together. Unhinged, most of us, but passionate all the same.